Hello, I'm going to record now assessment item 3 and present to you the information required for this assessment. First things, it's worth 50%. So this is something you need to be thinking about from the start of trimester. So what you're looking at here is really putting together what you did in assessment item 1 and 2 and what the whole process of an advanced practice nurse is about. So it's about really understanding the need for change and working out how to do it. So in this assessment item, you're going to design a clinical practice change and then, sort of look at how you could do that and then develop a management plan for that. So you've already explored this problem. You've completed your environmental analysis. So you worked out in the first assessment item who is the advanced practice roles and what sort of things they do. Then you did your environmental analysis. You might have looked at patient and staff surveys, general feedback, staff mix. You may have looked at sort of concerns that staff are talking about or what patients are talking about, or maybe even looking and reviewing the annual monitoring. Maybe there's been an issue with falls on your ward area, or patients having an issue with being really cold after the anaesthetics or something like that. So it's what you identify in your own clinical area. Think about what framework you used and what you found, and what sort of recommendations you actually thought about in those first two assessment items. And so really looking at what, this practice change is, what is current practice, what is best practice, and what is there sort of national frameworks to support this. This is how you're justifying your practice change, the need to align with best practice. So looking at a framework, so in this first part of this assignment, you need to sort of really think about what framework is going to work for your clinical area. Now there's a range of frameworks, and so you need to sort of make sure it really fits your idea. So have a look at the module information and I go over sort of different types of frameworks, have a look at the current research and who's used which framework and how's that worked and would align with your clinical area. And look at your plan. So you are designing a change management plan, you're linking it to a framework, you're looking at stakeholder involvement, so this is that sort of aspect of co-design, looking at the staffing, the patients, the family, and what contribution they need to have in your development, and who you might actually need to link with to actually get this to be translated to practice. You're looking at a timeline that's achievable. Now making sure that you actually have thought about this timeline. Students will often lose marks in this area if they've made their timeline really sort of an unreachable timeline. So think about this. Also looking at the legal and ethical influences. So do you need to have ethics if you're going to do a chart audit? Is the information needed to be sort of looked at in a legal point of view, as there guidelines that you need to align to make sure that what you're delivering is actually both legal and ethical. Also look at minority group concerns. So this may be non-English speaking patients, family, Indigenous. It may also be something like, if you're looking at a staffing issue, is there staff that are non-English first language, and so do they have concerns with education that's provided? Is there, concerns maybe with a minority group? Does your ward area have privacy for gay and lesbian? Is there an issue with that? So this can be, looking at your issue, with quite a sort of open mind of how does this actually influence my ability to provide best practice? And then evaluation. This is an important part of your actual change management plan. And so how are you actually going to evaluate? Is it going to be surveys? Are you going to do another clinical audit? Are you going to have patient feedback? Are you actually going to do some interviews with people to understand if they liked your plan? Are you going to look at, if you were saying maybe this was in relation to wound infections, are you then going to sort of evaluate over the next 2 months the actual number of wound infections in your clinical area? And use again research to support this idea. And how is this change sustained? So this is, remember, about your actual stakeholders' involvement. So were the RNs in your ward engaged in this process as you developed it and talked about it? And will they then complete the surveys? Will they engage in your sort of proposed change? So your overall presentation it is an essay, so making sure that you have your introduction and your conclusion, making sure that you are thinking about your word count, ensure there's a critique of literature. So remember, it's not just about sort of, so-and-so says, but, maybe you're actually really saying that, this particular clinical area instigated this, it was sustained and has it produced lower readmission. So maybe you're wanting to put in a teach back or a follow-up phone call in your ward area on education. And then really sort of think about sort of headings. They can be used in this task, making sure they're appropriate and really linking to the criteria and to help improve the flow of your essay. So past ideas that have been used have been patient flow through areas, privacy, hand washing, medication rounds. You might also have, some new ideas, with electronic charting, medication errors. Maybe you may have concerns with wound infections or, a whole range of aspects that can be in relation to your clinical area. And so the whole point of this assignment, hopefully, is that you may actually be able to think about something that's really pertinent and actually change it in the practice in your clinical area. Thank you.